So our guest on the podcast this week, we'll read out some numbers, as we are, of course, defined by our numbers. He has 68,000 Instagram followers, worked 18 years in radio, lead guitarist in the band Release the Sounds, producer of the Hamish and Andy podcast, and host on the #1 breakfast radio show in Melbourne, The Christian O'Connell Show. Jack Post, welcome to the Critical Banter podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys. 18 years. I haven't heard that said out loud. That is scarily long. How old are you guys, by the way? What age brackets do you all fall into?
We are all 24.
23, please. Come on, Roy.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not that old. I shaved my moustache. I'm 23.
Yeah, I'm 33 and 18 years in radio sounds ridiculous. I honestly still feel like a junior most of the time in any situation, but definitely in the radio industry.
Jeez. It is actually a long time. Well, this is all according to LinkedIn. So
yes, I know. It is a long time. I said it's a long time. I'm allowed to say it's a long time as the older one. You're meant to go, no, it's not that long.
No, we make it a policy not to lie to our guests. So
thanks for the honesty.
That's actually pretty insane. Like, your radio career is old enough to start drinking.
Actually, you know what? I never thought about it like this, but that means I've spent more of my life in radio than out of radio, because I started my first year in radio was 2003. I was 15 years old. So 18 years in radio, it just sounds ridiculous.
What kind of radio station is hiring a 15-year-old?
Yeah, no, good point. It's a radio station that sounds like it's hosted by 15-year-olds. It's called the Student Youth Network. Are you guys not in Melbourne? Whereabouts are you?
No, we're in Sydney, currently going through another lockdown, if you haven't heard.
Good luck. Yes, we've been through many, so I'm not going to feel
he's not feeling too bad for us.
He's playing the world's smallest violin for us.
There's a Student Youth Network is the name of the radio station I started on, Sin FM, and it is for people as early as 12 years old, 12 to 26. What? Yeah. So most of the programming during the day especially is school kids on air. And so you can, I guess at some high schools, you can take it as an elective class doing radio. And you can imagine the type of kids who would do that is like the ones who don't want to do any sciences, any maths. No, thank you. So you get kind of, and I can say this because I was one of the people who put my hand up, but you get more of the dropkick type kids. So if you tune in at any time to Sin FM during the day, you'll pretty much hear like, okay, so that was Coldplay. Now Jason is gonna talk about his weekend.
Oh, that sounds like a shambles. Yeah. Well, Jack, we got to ask this question. We ask it to every guest we have on the podcast, but what is your rarest moment?
Rarest moment. Okay, this is going to shock you. As a child, I grew up in a household where our knives, forks, and spoons were in the third drawer down.
Oh, no.
I didn't even know that was strange until I was older. But can you think of any kitchen you've ever been to anywhere in the world where the knives and forks aren't in the top drawer?
What was in the top drawer? Or the top two, actually.
Our top drawer was miscellaneous. Your rubber bands, batteries.
That's got to be last. It's got to be last.
The back of the Game Boy cover. Second was pretty standard. That's your Glad wraps, baking paper, that sort of thing, all your rolls. And then third drawer down was spoons, knives, and forks.
Jesus. No wonder you went into youth radio. You grew up in a household of anarchy.
That's right. I grew up in a very strange place. And even if I talk to my parents about it now, this is the only response we get. It's like, Mum, why did we have the knives and forks and cutlery in the third drawer down? Oh, yeah, that's right. And that's pretty much the end of it.
Oh,
how old were you when you realized that was not normal behavior?
Well, I guess you go to friends' houses, but even like up until 12 or 13 years old, you're not really rummaging through their cutlery drawer. You know, mum or dad is making your snacks. So probably not until a teenager did I start to realize that I was strange.
Oh dear, that's a pretty good one. I can't imagine having it in the third drawer though. Like for me, right, my standard is forks, knives, and spoons.
Yep.
First drawer. Second drawer is all your spatulas and that
Well,
sort
ladles,
of thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
100%.
And then it's a free-for-all for the rest of them.
No, the
Miscellaneous
third is
comes
like your
last.
glad wrap, aluminium foil.
Yeah, see, our spatulas and all the miscellaneous items, fourth drawer.
At that point, you're scuba diving to make an omelette.
we didn't eat that many omelets, Kush, and I think that's why. It's because who's got time to get down into the fourth drawer?
Dude, you have to bend over at least 5-6 times a day. Dude, you
What
guys have had
else did
osteoarthritis by 14.
What else did you guys have in that miscellaneous drawer? Because everybody's got the miscellaneous drawer.
My house, up until a few years ago, I reckon we had a rainforest of just plastic bags. There was at least 1,000 plastic bags in that drawer. And then luckily my parents have suddenly turned into greenies. And so they've all gone by the wayside. So now we've just got our recycling bag, like the reusable bag, sorry.
We all did used to keep those single-use plastic bags as if one day we would need thousands of them.
I actually do need the single-use plastic bags. Like I use it to pick up the dog's poop. That's the main usage of them.
Oh, yes. I buy the posh version, the one you get at the pet store.
Must be nice, Jack. Must be very nice.
You know what? I leave the dog poo, especially in the backyard. I leave it so long that it doesn't fit into one of the single dog poo bags that you get at the pet store. So I end up having to get a full garbage bag, like the Glad garbage bag that fills our whole bin, take that out, use one of the small ones as like a glove, and then slowly fill up the big Glad bag every few weeks.
Oh, how good. All right. We've touched on this a little bit, but according to en.everybodywiki.com, you started your radio career at 15. My question is twofold.
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, we've answered this a little bit, how you got started in radio. But secondly, and more importantly, why haven't Wikipedia let you have your own page?
Oh, actually, I tried for a long time to have. I had my own page for a little bit, and some guy kicked me off because Wikipedia is like volunteer run, right? I guess people all around the world can become Wikipedia editors. I don't really know how that works, but I said on the Christian O'Connell show, I think it's time that I get my own Wikipedia page. Some guy came forward and said, yep, I'm one of the editors. I can help you make it. He made it. It was great. Very thorough, said all the things I've done. I was very happy with it. And then a couple of weeks later, he said, hey, there's this guy, I can't even remember his name, like Saffron_83. He's trying to get you taken down, and his reasoning is you're not notable enough. You have to be a notable person to have a Wikipedia page. And he says you're not notable. So then for a little bit, I was in a battle where I was trying to get my page kept alive and prove I was notable, but Saffron88 kept trying to take me down. And in the end, we let him win because I actually felt ashamed that I was putting so much effort into having my own Wikipedia page. It felt like from an ego point of view, it wasn't a healthy thing to be fighting for.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm just thinking on the flip side, like, why is Saffron so dedicated to bring you down?
No, but seriously, why did he want, like, maybe the first time he came across me and decided I wasn't notable enough, fair enough, put in a complaint. But after we desperately tried to rally and keep the page up there, what was his vendetta against me that he didn't want me to be known on Wikipedia? Surely having more information on Wikipedia is just a good thing. I'm not taking down somebody else's page because they can only have like total 1 million pages or something, and now somebody else can't have their page because I'm on there. It's free information. It doesn't matter if I'm a link.
I have a really strong feeling that Saffron heard the story of you putting your forks in the third drawer and was like, nah.
This guy can't be trusted.
Nope.
But it's funny as well because you're verified on Instagram. So what more do they need? Like, isn't that?
I think we sent that as part of our evidence. I'm ashamed to actually say I've never said out loud on any recording that we fought this hard to get the Wikipedia page, but I did send that in as evidence that Instagram thinks I'm notable, but obviously this guy didn't think I was.
Is this like a court of law? You got to submit your case, you got the judge presiding over it.
Yeah, it's all in back-end code that you have these battles. I don't know. The guy who was helping me launch the page I was kept pushing him, and he's just a guy who doesn't know me at all, just heard me on the radio and thought he'd do me a favor, and then all of a sudden I'm messaging him every other day to go, hey, can we keep fighting this battle? Saffron 88's trying to kick us out.
Well, we're with you, Jack. Keep fighting the good fight.
Thank you, guys. If you ever become editors of Wikipedia pages, then please let me know.
Yep, first rule, first job. So you've also been, look, to be honest, you've been part of some amazing things on radio, like obviously, opening for Frank Stallone and of course the Cool Boys and the Frontman tours. What is the coolest thing you probably had the opportunity to do since being on air?
Definitely the Hamish and Andy Cool Boys and the Frontman tour. So this was where Hamish and Andy and I were in a band where we only played one cover song every gig. And that was so special to me because I actually thought for a little bit in high school that my career would be rock star and not radio guy. I played guitar. I was in a band in high school, and this is the closest I'm ever going to get. Definitely at 33, no one becomes a rock star for the first time. So being part of that joke band on Hamish and Andy was the closest I will get to being a rock star. But you know what? As we rolled into towns, people actually we did build up a frenzy for it, and people came out, and it was like I could convince myself for a little bit like, they love the band. Not they're big fans of Hamish and Andy for a long time, but they love the band. They love our music. They love me jamming on this guitar.
Yeah, no, especially the private jet stuff as well. Like, who gets the opportunity to fly on a private jet? That's amazing.
The private jet was cool, but it wasn't as luxe as you think it was. It was actually very uncomfortable.
Don't come off it.
No, it was. It was actually turned out to be a bit of a pain in the ass. Like you when you're sitting in it, it was such a small private jet that when you're sitting in it, especially if you're tall, you have to crook your head to the side or else it would hit the ceiling. And it just wasn't champagne flying everywhere. It was like a shit bus in the sky.
Oh, it's so good. Look, they also say, never meet your heroes. And you've obviously interviewed probably a lot of celebrities and, some of your heroes. So I was just wanting to know, which celebrity surprised you the most when meeting them, good or bad?
Yeah, good question. For a lot of the time because my role in Hamish and Andy, for people who don't know, is I was the button pusher. So I was the only person in studio with them while they're doing the live shows. So I'm a very out of the way person for when celebrities come in. They obviously get introduced to Hamish and Andy. These are the guys that are going to be interviewing you. But it's interesting to see which ones would say hello to the guy who's in the corner behind the buttons. And that is really a mark of a person to go out of their way. The first one to do it was Jeffrey Rush. I remember that, and that was maybe 12 years ago now, but that really stayed with me because he went out of his way to come around the desk and shake my hand and say, "G'day." And I was starstruck at that. Who else really surprised me? Sadly, in a bad way, Slash from Guns N' Roses, the guitarist from Guns N' Roses with the big top hat and curly hair, was the meanest.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know.
It's a damn shame. Another rock star, a fellow rocker.
This is before I strapped on the guitar in Cool Boys and the Frontman, so maybe he didn't know yet that we were peers.
Well, that's sad to know, Slash.
Yeah. What about you guys? Of people you've interviewed on this show, who's surprised you?
No, when you were talking about meeting celebrities and a favorite heroes, for me, I think I would act really poorly because for me, I would love to meet Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, big fans of them, but I feel like if I did, I would just go up to them and go, "What are you talking about, Jimmy? Who you talking to?" Just speak like that.
Don't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know celebrities well, but I guess I met them enough to know that they're not going to just love that.
No, they're not. They're going to hate it. They're going to despise it. But it's just the first thing that comes into my mind.
And you know what will happen, I reckon, Kush, if you went to do that? I think you'd lose confidence in the moment, so you do an even shitter version than you did.
No, to be honest, on a podcast, everyone's pretty chill. It's a little bit different because I suppose with radio, it's a big junket, right? So they're probably speaking to 10 or 15 people
That's
Whereas
right.
usually the podcast.
That's why you can't sometimes judge the bad ones. Like it was a shame for me, I reckon, that Bill Hader and Amy Schumer came out for a film they were doing and they were just a bit shitty and not interested. But you got to think they've been doing interview after interview after interview, especially when studios bother to send them to Australia. They're just packed like all day, like 14 hours of back-to-back 5-minute interviews. So you understand why they burn out and they don't really care about talking to you anymore.
Yeah, for sure. So we actually want to know, because we've been listening to Jackie Road Studios and really just want to know, I suppose, how did you come up with the idea? Because it's quite a unique concept, and let the listeners know what it is if they haven't heard it, and also if you've struggled with making any of the songs that come with it.
Yeah, great. Jackie Road Studios is a project I made in this room that I'm sitting in. This is actually, I'm coming to you from Jackie Road Studios right now.
Wowee.
I interview a guest each week and then I write and record a song based on something that we talked about in the interview. I loved the idea when I came up with it. 3 weeks into the podcast, I hated myself for the extra work I gave myself. If we hadn't have been in lockdown, I just wouldn't have done. I just would have quit. But because I had every weekend in Melbourne, we went through 120 days of lockdown, and that's when I was doing it. So I had all weekend to work on the songs. But I would please, if people want to check it out, it's still up there. The season 1 finished earlier in the year, but Jackie Road Studios on all your good podcasting apps, and all the songs from the interviews are on Spotify as well. If you search Jack Post in Spotify, you can listen to them there, or I think you can find them on YouTube and Apple Music and the other streaming services. But it was a great way. I was trying to teach myself how to record from home. So it was the first time I'd ever properly tried to learn how to record instruments and vocals and that sort of thing. So I learned a lot, but it was just a brutal every week I would get to Friday and see the looming deadline of Sunday night when I submitted it. And my poor wife during that time, because I used to just complain, like, why did I do this? I don't get any money from it. Those suckers, they don't even bother to write emails in. They don't deserve this, all my work. But I'm so now, of course, now that I've done it, I'm so proud of the album that I made from it. So I got 12 interviews from it, which means 12 songs, so an album length worth. And I promised on the last episode of the podcast that I'll bring it back for season 2. And I have not made any progress on getting closer to episode 1 of season 2.
Could we suggest maybe a Saffron 88 as your first track on the album?
That's the interview that people really want to hear.
It would be like a diss track.
Yeah, it would be.
Well, actually, one of our fans wrote in a question for us. He goes, ask him about when he was 13 and used to come over to Byron's house and insist we burn Legos with matches, and if he still loves that.
Okay. I honestly don't know a Byron.
No.
I think you've been played here. Or
I really
somebody's
wanted
like,
this to be true.
Yeah, I don't know a Byron. I did in my youth set stuff on fire.
There we go.
I don't remember a Byron. No, I don't think that's true. And I don't remember setting Lego on fire.
What was your go-to?
Material of choice.
Yeah.
We had a crazy kid in our street who my mum and dad...
Don't tell me you set him on fire.
And I was doing the street a favour. It was brutal, but I did the street a favour. So he would, we would go and play with him, and he liked to set fires, and I think, like, I hate to say this, I think grass fire. I mean, it sounds.
Jeez.
Really, yeah. Just maybe edit this out.
Yeah, we'll do.
No. Look, if it's buffalo grass, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
No, that is the worst type of grass.
Yeah.
And free for all there.
It's really just a weed. No, it's like grass on our nature strip. We weren't going out to like forest and setting fires, but like I remember him setting the grass on the nature strip on fire. Toys that we had, like when I was growing up, Power Rangers was big. He set one of my brother's Power Rangers on fire. He was bad news.
Are you sure this isn't Sid from Toy Story 2?
He was no, honestly, Kush. He was Sid from Toy Story 2. That's who he was. And my mum was torn because she felt sorry for him because being an only child and to a single parent, and she wanted him to have friends and people to get involved in his life, but also he was Sid from Toy Story 2. He was obviously a terrible influence on us.
So he turned into a petty arsonist.
Oh, how good. All right, Jack, obviously, look, there are a lot of famous posts, right? But this last part of the podcast is where we determine who and once and for all is the best post. So we're going to call this little segment the Battle of the Posts. And you, Jack Post, will be coming up against some of the biggest posts in history.
Yep.
It is not Mike Post. It's not Postman Pat, not even Australia Post. It is Post Malone.
Yeah. I only found out recently that Post Malone was a post. Austin Post, is
Austin
it?
Post, yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
So we've got 3 rounds for you. And basically, we've got a couple of questions that Post, Malone, and you will go head-to-head against. The first round is the Never Have I Ever round. So he went on Jimmy Fallon the other month, and he answered these 3 questions. And so basically, whoever gets the most points will be the best post.
Let's go.
Never have I ever lost a bet over $1,000.
Oh, no, I haven't. No, I've had to ban myself from the casino, but not for a single bet. Death by 1,000 cuts is more my gambling style of, I'll just put another $20 on. I lost that. Maybe I'll just put another $20 on. And I had to give myself a self-ban. Actually, you know what? This is my worst gambling story because I do have it in me, and I try not to gamble now because I know I've got that beast in me that just like the hunger for keep going until you've got no money.
Chase your losses, absolutely.
I was dating this girl from Sydney, and I only had gone out with her maybe twice before she came down to Melbourne, and we went to the Spring Racing Carnival, Melbourne Cup, and I should be on my best behavior for such an early part of a relationship. And I'd lost all my money during the day. And I said, can I borrow $50 off you? And then I put $50 on what somebody told me was a sure thing, and it lost. So I lost my money. That's not a proud moment. But never over $1,000, no.
Okay, Post Malone 1, Jack Post 0. Damn. Never have I ever gone out for drinks and woken up in a different city.
Definitely not a different. No, I haven't done that. The closest I've got is transiting between cities. When I was 20, I was going through France and Spain on like a backpacking tour.
Yeah.
And I was trying to get from Paris to Barcelona, and we stopped in this town called Toulouse, which is at the south of France. And we knew that our train was 6 a.m. the next morning. So we're all like, all right, let's everybody get to bed nice and early wake up. And then at that age, you're just like, well, we might as well go for one drink. We've never been to Toulouse before. And then one drink became many drinks. I got split up from my friends. I was walking the streets asking people if they knew where my hotel was. It was just and we missed the train the next morning. But no, I've never arrived in a new city.
Alrighty. Posty's, he's looking good here so far. Never have I ever been mistaken for another celebrity.
I had a lot of people tell me I look like Michael Cera from Superbad, but never to the point where somebody's actually like, oh, Michael Cera's walking down Brunswick Street.
All right. 3-0. Now we go to the musical head-to-head. All right. So at what age, Jack, did you start learning the guitar?
12.
12. Post Malone, 9. It's 4.
It's hard to be a pro musician in the music round, though.
That's true. That is true. But I would call yourself quite pro.
All right, thank you.
We set the bar high here.
All right. How many instruments do you play, Jack?
Well, guitar, not well, piano, and guitar.
That's 2-1. Jack Post he's on the board.
He's on the board.
Hey!
Here we go. All right, we move on to the miscellaneous head-to-head. Jack, how many houses have you built with your bare hands?
I have built one house with my own hands.
That's
Yes.
another one.
Hey!
We're clawing back 4-2. This is more for a question for Stan and Kush. Who has the better beard?
I have a terrible beard, but so does Post Malone.
This is horrendous.
Yeah.
His is difficult to look at. It is very
puny.
difficult.
If people watch the video of this, they'll see that my beard is quite full, but I've purposely put the camera on my good side. I'm patchy on the left-hand side, but I still think Post Malone is so bad. It's me.
Yep. I'm agreed with that.
It is Jack Post.
This is the greatest comeback of all time. Here we go.
All right, here we go. This is for the tie. The least number of bad tattoos.
Yes. Even though I have a terrible tattoo on my back of 2 swallows, that is the exact tattoo that one of the Veronicas has, which is a terrible tattoo. I've only got one bad tattoo, and he has many.
Thousands.
Yes.
So yes.
Did I win in the end?
I think it was a draw.
It was a draw.
I'll take it. That was a huge comeback.
Big time. What is the? Did you get it first, or did the Veronicas get it first?
I did. Well, I don't know when they got theirs. I didn't know about theirs. I just felt like I walked into the tattoo parlor with a picture of my favourite Veronica and said, "Give me this." I just somewhere along the line found out that they had the same tattoo that I've got on my back.
Wow. Well, there you go. All right, that ends the interview segment. We know that Jack and Post Malone are equals.
One of the same.
I'm happy with that. I'll show respect to Austin Post. I hope he shows the same to me.